Hey guys, welcome back to the BuzWeaver channel. And in our top stories today, the escalation that is continuing between these blue cities, the mayors and the governors, and Donald Trump. And it is very much escalating. And as we have talked about here on the BuzWeaver channel, there is a strategy in politics that we see particularly with Democrats. And ironically enough, it is a strategy that Donald Trump is exercising as well, which kind of distinguishes him from the regular GOP, and that is, well, as we have mentioned here, the strategy is to push the boundaries, blur the lines, and put your political rivals on defense, right? So you want to always be on offense in this game, controlling the tempo, controlling the momentum. And I think what we have here is the best way for these Democrats to stand up against Trump, because they have to be in defiance of Trump, or else their constituents, their citizenry, in these cities will turn against them. And they're terrified of their own citizenry. And this is becoming a major problem. As you can see here, Donald Trump is the president. They know what powers he has, but they have to put into question, they have to raise the assumptions, they have to change the narrative so that people think that Donald Trump is doing things that are illegal or irresponsible and these sorts of things. And as you know, these are the same people that try to destroy Donald Trump. They spent 8 years trying to destroy Donald Trump. And here we have the escalation, the most escalation of all the escalation. And I don't say that really to be funny or tongue-in-cheek. It's just here we are. So from Media Lies, Chicago Mayor Johnson just declared that war with Trump is on the table during a press conference after signing an executive order establishing no ICE zones across the city. No ICE zone. So people are interpreting this as being, so these are crime zones, like sanctuary cities. They're there to protect what ICE are pursuing, and that is these illegal criminals, right? Now, they're able to put this together in their operations. They know who they have to go after. They know where they are. They know what's going on. And these mayors or even governors, you know, the local police department know who these individuals are too, so they could simply turn them over to ICE and make it very, very simple. But of course, they're not going to. Because as I said, remember the strategy. That is, blur the lines, right? You want to blur those lines between what is or isn't to get people in a state of confusion. And then, of course, you want to push the boundaries of what your capabilities are by being boisterous and out there. And so, as we can see here, this is very, very out there for Chicago Mayor Johnson. And we'll just take a listen to what he says here because they asked him about this.
Take even more dramatic action if this administration continues to escalate. What exactly does that mean from a city perspective?
Everything.
Meaning?
Everything. Whatever is necessary to ensure that we're protecting people. Look, I've already signed, this is the third executive order, the most sweeping executive orders from any executive office pushing back against this administration. We are looking at every single way in which we can protect people. And as the coming days come forward, there are many ideas that have already been placed in our collective circle. And I'm giving serious considerations around another potential executive order later this week.
Now, you see the language here. The language he's using, the emphasis here is protecting people. And the idea here is that to keep it rather ambiguous as to who they're protecting, right? So that he's trying to suggest that by saying protecting people, he means the citizenry of Chicago. But the reality is, the truth of it all, when you narrow it all down, is he's trying to protect criminal aliens, is basically what he's trying to do. And so the ideas and the concepts aren't lost on people that can use critical thinking.
Well, look, our corporate counsel has been in constant communication with our Attorney General for several months now. And I just wanted to offer this up. A couple of years ago, I said very candidly that the right wing in this country wants a rematch of the Civil War. I want that to sit in right now because the President of the United States of America has declared war on the people of Chicago and people across America.
That's right.
He's more interested in giving billions of dollars to other nations while farmers in urban cities around this country are literally being destabilized. And so whether it's the legal system, whether it's through executive order, or whether it's through the brave women and men who are serving as rapid responders.
Okay, so now he's just waxing. But here's the idea, of course, as you guys probably already know, what he's trying to do here is he's trying to frame everything as though Donald Trump is attacking the citizenry and attacking the ideologies, the philosophies, and the worldviews of Democrats in that city. So I appreciate your patience. I actually had to get up for a minute there. That's why I kind of let that run. But you guys know what's going on with this detail. And here we have, of course, NBC News talking about the Insurrection Act. And I'll play a little bit also. What I've done is I've taken a collection of all this information to give you guys just the gist of what's going on. And I'll just play some of these excerpts. And, of course, you guys can look these up online very simply by just Googling any of the information here, NBC, and then these titles, and you can just look them up.
President Donald Trump sending more troops into Los Angeles as anti-ICE protests now continue. He is mobilizing 700 active duty Marines to join the National Guardsmen who are already there in L.A. against the governor's wishes. Just moments ago at the White House, President Donald Trump doubled down on deploying the military to an American city, claiming that Los Angeles was under siege.
If we didn't get involved, right now, Los Angeles would be burning, just like it was burning a number of months ago with all the houses that were lost. Los Angeles right now would be on fire, and we have it in great shape. We're not playing around.
How will you determine whether or not there is an insurrection?
Well, you'll take a look at what's happening. I mean, I could tell you there were certain areas of Los Angeles that you could have called it an insurrection.
But it's not just there. We are also seeing immigration protests spread to other cities, with even more demonstrations planned for later on today. NBC News correspondent.
And there you have it. So on the one hand, don't you find it fascinating? On the one hand, they're saying, well, none of this is actually happening, so why are you sending in the troops? Well, obviously it's happening because you can see it here. It is not incumbent upon the citizenry to go out and see what law enforcement is doing. Right? The citizenry is not the supervisors of what particular police operations that are going on. But they want to inject themselves. And many of these people are paid protesters, by the way. And, of course, this was just some additional content here, if you guys want to look it up, from Fox 11 in Los Angeles, where they were describing the same thing and then showing the same images. But it's not a mystery what's actually happening. And here, Julie B. outlines it very well. Thinking your state can override federal law, that's adorable. And then we have the Supremacy Clause, which is what Trump was going to use in California when it comes to the unmasking of agents, right? The Supremacy Clause for beginners, the U.S. Constitution, Article 4, Clause 2, federal laws, state laws, conflict, federal law prevails. So you are here. So federal law will prevail when it comes to protecting the citizenry. So the argument here is they're fighting over the citizenry. And this is why the Democrats have to mention it, because Trump says he wants to make the country safe, law and order. He wants to protect the people. And his desire to do this means I got to send in these individuals in here because of any particular number of reasons. Why? As we can see already with ICE being interfered with as they go about their business, that's a problem because it not only endangers the officers, but it endangers the citizens who are being dumb enough to go out there and put themselves in harm's way trying to protest. So it also endangers regular citizens as well, as we saw over the weekend, as we covered here on the BuzWeaver channel yesterday when I showed you the videos of the people, deranged individuals, running their cars, ramming their cars into ICE agents. That is extraordinarily dangerous. And we're going to get to that point right here with Chief Police Superintendent Larry Snelling on ICE and the violence that's going on. So it's funny how on the one hand they're saying, oh, there's really nothing going on, and then they sit there and they proceed to show what's actually happening. It's absolutely extraordinary. But here's Superintendent Larry Snelling.
ICE, HSI are officers. They are agents of law enforcement. If you box them in with vehicles, it is reasonable for them to believe that they are being ambushed and that this could end in a deadly situation. And it's reasonable for them to use force based on those conditions. Do not box in any law enforcement officer. You are breaking the law when you do that. And you are putting yourself in danger.
Exactly. And that was my point as well. So you can see the differences here when you assess it between what they mean by protecting the citizenry, because these activists, these protesters that are out there, they're not concerned about the citizenry. They're concerned about scoring points for their side, the left. And they will do whatever they have to do. They're not particularly concerned about what they're engaged in. As I may have shown you, the guys, there's actual attorneys out there in Portland. They wear the lime green hats, and they're out there actually protecting Antifa. So it's rather interesting. They're out there. Well, they say they're out there collecting data and information and being witnesses to what's actually happening. But of course, the media is going to continue to exacerbate this situation because we have some additional interesting news now. I'm going to let you tarry a bit on some of this information, and then I'm going to break it down to you in a very simple term after you can see here. What I want to illustrate to you guys is how the media is going way out of their way to create situations and create this type of drama that's going on now, because there was a leak in Signal again, or Signalgate, as you guys remember the original with Pete Hegseth. And now we have another one with Salisbury, who was one of the advisors for Trump. And this is the way MSNBC reported it.
Arguably the second most egregious part of this new reporting is that high-level officials in the Trump administration still appear to be sharing sensitive information in cavalier fashion on the messaging app called Signal. But just wait until you hear what they were saying and messaging on Signal. The back and forth in question between Anthony Salisbury, who is a deputy to Stephen Miller, and Patrick Weaver, who is an advisor to Pete Hegseth, happened in a crowded space, so crowded and so public, in fact, that someone was able to take pictures of their conversation and catch their exchange and then share them with a reporter at the Minnesota Star-Tribune so we could all see them. Contained therein, among dozens of messages, a discussion about the deployment of the Army's vaunted 82nd Airborne, an elite infantry division, a deployment not to a faraway combat zone, but to the streets of, wait for it, Portland.
So now she's trying to be, obviously she's being very performative here and exacerbating and exaggerating and so forth and so on. And, of course, this goes on for another 4 minutes of her waxing about all of this. And then, of course, The Guardian picked it up too, but you may find it interesting why you haven't heard about it, and that's very simple. And I'm going to break it all down for you. So after all of that, she had 4 more minutes to go waxing again, and we can break it all down right here. In the statement to the Minnesota Star-Tribune, Abigail Jackson, a White House spokesperson, confirmed Salisbury had been in Minnesota to attend a funeral. Despite dealing with grief from the loss of a family member, Tony continued his important work on behalf of the American people. Jackson told the Star-Tribune, "Nothing in the private conversations that are shamefully being reported on by morally bankrupt reporters is new or classified information." So there you have it. But the reason you're not seeing this on mainstream media is because it's been debunked immediately that none of what they discussed is classified information. Now, there is discussion about, we already hear the president already talking about, the president has already talked about bringing in troops. And so this isn't a mystery. This isn't anything classified. It's just that the details of it being the 82nd Airborne Division raises everyone's eyebrows. Because why would you bring in an elite force to come into a city? I don't anticipate this happening. I don't see this happening. It isn't even necessary to get to this level. The National Guard and local law enforcement and agencies can handle what's currently happening. But we saw this exchange also with 𝐬𝐭𝐮𝐧𝐧 yesterday.
I would encourage you as a reporter to go on the ground and to take a look at it for yourself, because there's been many members of the press, not press in this room, but independent journalists, some of whom we'll be inviting to the White House very soon to share their stories, because they have been in the middle of these riots and they have witnessed the anarchy that is taking place night after night. It's on video. You should play it on your show. You have a great opportunity on prime time on CNN to show your audience. Yeah, but you're probably talking to partisan Democrat officials who are opposed to everything this president does. You should also ask the people who live in Portland. We've actually heard from many members of the community who have said that this is complete civil disobedience. It's a mess. It's been loud. It's been troubling for neighbors in the community who are just trying to live peacefully. And these people are not there to peacefully protest. They are there to cause mayhem and havoc.
Exactly. And that's the whole point. Like I said, it's not incumbent for the citizenry to be out in their communities watching law enforcement do their duty, because they don't know the operational information that's going on there. They don't know the dangers and the risk that are happening. And we've covered it here with the situation in Pennsylvania where the officers were shot and some of them were killed. I mean, these people are endangering themselves, not even realizing. It's called LARPing, right? LARPing, where they're pretending to do something like cosplay and be out there and try to pretend like they're doing something, and they're not. And here it is now, shortly after that exchange with 𝐤𝐭𝐮𝐧𝐧 and Leave It, here we have it right here. This is outside the ICE facility in Portland. So why are these people here? Are they supervising ICE? Do they need to be in front of the driveway here in the ICE facility? What exactly are they doing there, other than interfering and impeding the operations of this ICE facility? It's not difficult to understand. But yet the Democrats want to rewrite the information, represent the information in a way that allows them to sow this chaos and disorder that's going on, to suggest that, oh, you know, on the one hand, they want everyone to see the chaos and be emotionally moved by it, right? These knee-jerk reactions. And it's just like we saw, too, over the weekend. Breaking, leftist influencers and politicians are now mass deleting posts where they claimed a South Carolina judge was targeted with an arson attack because of Trump officials after South Carolina law enforcement revealed that no foul play was found. So in other words, over the weekend, they were accusing Donald Trump, or MAGA and others, of having burned this woman's house down. Trump, right here, and MAGA world have been doxing and threatening judges who rule against Trump, including Judge Goodstein. That is not true. We already know who's doxing out there, who's asking for a mask to be removed, right? Who's asking for this information. And when you see these viral videos, you hear them screaming, what's your name? What's your badge number? Who's doing the doxing? Today, someone committed arson on the judge's home, severely injuring her husband and son. And we come to find out that it was a propane leak. It was their vacation home. And while they were away, there was a slow leak from the propane tank that caused the actual explosion. Now, I don't know what exactly ignited it. I didn't go into reading the story. But I just wanted to bring this to you guys so that you could see. Now, most of you guys understand all this. But, of course, I take, what we do here on the BuzWeaver channel is we take the difficult, we take the complicated, we take the tumult, we take the confusion, we try to break it down so that everyone can see what's going on. But we can see a continuing escalation by Democrats who are essentially taunting Donald Trump to do what they want him to, and that is to invoke the Insurrection Act. They want to make it look like Trump is some sort of tyrant, is what they want to really do, is because they want to paint these pictures, they want to create these images, and just like with the judge there in South Carolina, they want to create and invent and imagine that these things are actually happening, that there's just this terrible MAGA force behind all the terrible things that are going on in our country, and it's absolutely not true. But nonetheless, guys, I welcome your thoughts and comments down in the comments section. And I want to thank all you guys for your continued support. That's all of you on BitChute, Rumble, and Odyssey. You guys have been amazing. Thank you so much for the support. And below this video, of course, you can find the various social media links that I belong to include X, where I keep up with all of what is going on around and try to bring you guys the gist of it all. What a big day today on this top story. So I thank you guys for hanging in there, for all of you who have made it this far. And, of course, appearing there on the screen, that's going to be the channel icon for everyone watching on YouTube specifically. You guys can click on that to subscribe, as well as to select notifications. That way you know when there's content here on the channel. And I'll see all you guys in the next video.